This is page 203. This is lesson 8.1, Understanding Percent, and we start by reviewing what percent means. A percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. Percent actually literally means out of 100. Think about the word cent when it comes to money. There are 100 cents in a dollar, so think about that. This is my favorite way to write a percent. It says 17% is equivalent to 17 out of 100. I like to think about it this way. If you can make it a fraction out of 100, then it is a percent. Now, why do we use percents? Let's go talk about basketball, okay? So, first part of this Explore activity, there's 3 basketball players. We're trying to figure out who's the best shooter. Now, player 1 was 17 over 25, player 2 was 33 over 50, and player 3 was 14 over 20. The first term is how many that they made. The second term is how many they attempted. So if you think about it, it's hard to compare them right now because player 1 had 25 tries, player 2 had 50 tries, and player 3 had 20 tries. So who should be the best shooter? Well, player 2 had the most tries. I mean, look at player 2. They made 33. Player 1 only made 17. So can we conclude that player 2 is the better shooter? We can't because they had more attempts. So that's what a percent does, is a percent makes them all fair to compare. Right now it's not easy to compare because they all had different attempts and they all had different makes. So what we do is we, check out question A, rewrite each ratio as a number compared to 100. So we're going to go ahead and, how do we do that? Well, I'll show you how to do that mathematically. They gave us really friendly denominators. How do you get from 25 to 100? You multiply by 4. And if you multiply the second term by 4, you have to multiply the first term by 4. 17 times 4 is, well, I can do that mentally by doing 17 times 2. That's 34. And then do that times 2. That's 68. And player 2 had 50 attempts, but we have to multiply that by 2 to make it out of 100. And if you multiply their first term by 2, you get 66. And player 3, to get from 20 to 100, you multiply by 5. And this is one if you don't have memorized, you need to. So I'm going to do 14 times 5, and I can check my multiplication chart. That's 70. Now that might be a little messy, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this part right here. But now it's easy to compare, because now what we know is if they each shot 100 attempts, player 3 would make 70, and player 2 would make 68, and player 3 would make 66. So we can go down and answer the question. And I guess we didn't do the shading yet, but we need to. Player 1 would make 68, so that's going to be 6 whole columns plus 8 more. So they're going to be 68. Player 2 is going to be 6 whole columns plus 6 more. Player 3 is going to be 7 whole columns. And we can use this to answer our question. Question B says, which player has the greatest free throw ratio? It's player 3. How is this shown on the grids? They have the most shaded. All right, let's move on. Question C says, use a percent to describe each player's free throw ratio. Write the percents in order from least to greatest. Well, the least is 66%. The middle was 68%. And the most was 70%. And D says, determine how many squares to shade on each grid. The numerator. The numerator is how many squares to shade. And the reason why is because the grids were out of 100 and the numerators were out of 100. So if you have a fraction that says 68 out of 100 and your grids are out of 100, then you shade 68. All right, good job. You're done with page 203.